Hello, sugar. Come on in. Look around my living room. Take a deep breath and tell me, notice anything missing? That's right. There is empty space everywhere. I am 103 years old, darling, and I absolutely refuse to let my home become a dusty, suffocating museum of things I used to be. Or worse, things society thought I should be. The world loves to brainwash us, doesn't it? They tell us from the time we are young that accumulating more stuff, buying bigger and better, is the ultimate sign of success. That a house packed to the brim means a life fully lived. Well, I am here to tell you that is complete and utter nonsense. When you are living alone, darling, all that excess clutter isn't a trophy. It is just visual noise. It is a heavy anchor pulling down your peace of mind, and frankly, it sucks away all your precious energy just trying to keep it clean. You see, so many of us fall into the trap of buying things for a fantasy life. We shop for the person we imagine we might be in some alternate universe instead of honoring the beautiful, real person we are right now. All those unused things just sit there, silently judging us, draining our precious brain sparkle. It's exhausting, isn't it? I decided a long time ago that my home is not a soulless warehouse for forgotten dreams. My house, my rules. So I got ruthless. I stopped holding on to the guilt, and I started protecting my peace. I threw away the heavy baggage of that fantasy life to carefully construct my own curated retreat. Today, sugar, I am going to share a major longevity secret with you. I am going to tell you about the 5 specific things I threw away that were dragging me down. Because remember, darling, you can't have a happy ending to a miserable journey. And you certainly can't travel light if your suitcase is full of someone else's expectations. Let's get into it. Let's start with number 1 on my eviction list. The massive, heavy, 12-piece fine china set. Oh, sugar, when I was a young woman, I saved up my pennies and bought this incredibly extravagant set with delicate pink roses and a real gold trim. I was utterly convinced that by buying it, I was instantly going to become the ultimate society hostess. I pictured myself throwing these grand, elegant dinner parties every single weekend. I imagined serving roasted duck and expensive wine to a dining room table full of glamorous friends, laughing late into the night. That was my fantasy life, darling. It was a lovely daydream. But do you want to know the cold, hard reality? I absolutely despise washing dishes. I always have, and I always will. For decades, those beautiful, expensive plates sat in a dark wooden cabinet, collecting dust and taking up precious space. Every time I walked past them, they quietly made me feel guilty for not being the domestic goddess I thought I was supposed to be. It was like keeping a heavy monument to a woman who didn't even exist. Why do we do that to ourselves? Why do we let inanimate objects bully us? So, one bright Tuesday morning, what did I do? I gave myself full permission to let that exhausting fantasy go. I packed up 10 of those heavy dinner plates, along with the matching gravy boat, the useless soup tureen, and all those tiny, fragile teacups, and I donated them to a local charity. I kept exactly 2 plates, just the 2 prettiest ones. Now, when I have my simple morning toast with butter and jam, I eat it off fine china like an absolute queen. And when I am done, it takes me exactly 30 seconds to wash up. Darling, listen to me carefully. Nobody gets to dictate how you live in your own space. My house, my rules. Letting go of the obligation to entertain imaginary guests freed up so much physical and mental room. It is a profound longevity secret. Stop performing for ghosts and start living beautifully for yourself. Number 2 on the list of things that absolutely had to go. All those complicated, trendy kitchen gadgets. Let me tell you a little story. A few years ago, I was browsing at a big department store, just minding my own business, when this very aggressive, very enthusiastic young salesman cornered me in the home goods aisle. He was desperately trying to sell me one of those giant, blinking, talking smart pressure cookers. You know the ones. He kept telling me how it would save me so much time, that it was the modern way to cook, and that I could have a whole pot roast done in 20 minutes flat. He was looking at me, speaking very slowly and loudly, like I was some frail, confused old lady who desperately needed a robot just to survive the week. I stood up a little taller, gave him my sweetest smile, patted his arm gently, and said, "Sonny boy, I am over 100 years old. I have nothing but time, and I actually enjoy the slow, quiet simmer of a pot on my stove." I walked right out of there. But that interaction made me go home and really look at my own countertops. They were horribly cluttered. I had a massive blender I hadn't turned on in 5 years, a bulky air fryer someone had gifted me out of obligation, and a food processor that required an advanced engineering degree just to take apart and clean. It was all part of another fantasy life where I was a high-speed, multitasking culinary whiz. But all those black cords and blinking digital clocks, they weren't helping me. They were just pure visual anxiety. They were slowly stealing my brain sparkle. The constant, low-level hum of technology in our most sacred spaces is exhausting for the nervous system. Sugar. So I hauled every single one of those machines away. I kept my favorite, perfectly seasoned cast iron skillet, a good sturdy wooden spoon, and my reliable old whistling tea kettle. Now, my kitchen is a quiet sanctuary. When I chop my vegetables for soup, I take my sweet time. I listen to the birds outside. I smell the onions caramelizing in the butter. I protect my cognitive health by flat out refusing to let machines rush my day. Simplifying your daily rituals isn't moving backward, darling. It is a deliberate, beautiful rebellion against a world that tells you faster is always better. It isn't. Slower is better.
Number 3. Sugar is something I know almost everyone struggles with. The infamous just-in-case wardrobe. Let us be completely honest for a moment. Have you ever looked inside your closet and felt completely overwhelmed by clothes that still have the price tags attached? I certainly did. I had a closet stuffed to the brim with tight, uncomfortable dresses and pinching shoes that I bought during moments of profound boredom or sadness. I was purchasing outfits for a fantasy life where I was going to glamorous cocktail parties every week. We do this so often, darling. We use the checkout cart to try and soothe our souls. We buy clothes for a body we don't currently have, or for a lifestyle that only exists in our imagination. We keep ugly, uncomfortable sweaters just in case it gets cold, or we hold on to outfits from 30 years ago just in case they come back into style. But keeping those clothes is like keeping a closet full of regrets and unfulfilled promises. It weighs you down. One day, I decided that true emotional maturity meant I was going to stop punishing myself with a zipper that wouldn't close. I pulled everything out. Every single garment that pinched, pulled, or made me feel less than absolutely spectacular went straight into a donation bag. I tossed the fantasy life wardrobe and embraced the beautiful reality of absolute comfort. Now my closet only holds soft, breathable fabrics that feel like a warm hug against my skin. I dress for the joy of today, darling, not the anxiety of tomorrow. Freeing up that physical space freed up so much mental space, too. Now, let's talk about number 4. And this one might ruffle some feathers, but it is a vital longevity secret. I threw out my adult children's old junk. I love my children dearly, Sugar. I really do. But when they moved out and bought their own homes, they slowly turned my house into their personal, rent-free storage unit. There were heavy boxes of college textbooks from the 1970s lining my hallway. There were dusty sports trophies in my basement. There were old, broken musical instruments taking up the corners of my living room. Whenever I asked them nicely to take their things home, they would try to lay on the guilt. "But Mom," they would whine, "don't you want to keep our precious memories? We don't have enough space at our house." Darling, let me tell you something important. Your home is meant to serve your present joy. It is not meant to be a museum for someone else's past. So, I stopped arguing. I employed the gray rock method. If you don't know what that is, sugar, it means you give absolutely zero emotional reaction. You become as boring and unbothered as a gray rock. I simply picked up the telephone, called my grown children, and stated in a completely flat, deadpan voice, I am clearing out the house. You have exactly 3 days to come pick up your boxes, or they are going straight to the city dump. Oh, they gasped. They sputtered. But they showed up with a rented truck the very next morning. Setting that boundary was incredibly liberating. You must protect your peace, darling. Never let anyone, not even your own flesh and blood, burden your daily life with the heavy baggage of their unmade decisions. And finally, we arrive at number 5, the giant, dust-gathering guest bed. For decades, I had this massive bedroom right down the hall. It was the largest room in the house, boasting the biggest windows and the absolute best natural light. And what was it used for? It sat completely empty for 350 days a year, waiting for those rare, brief moments when extended family might decide to pop in for a visit. Meanwhile, I had squeezed myself into a tiny, dark back bedroom just to accommodate them. I realized how utterly ridiculous this was. I was sacrificing the best part of my own home for a fantasy life where my house was a bustling free hotel. Not anymore, sugar. I hired a couple of strong neighborhood boys to haul that gigantic guest bed right out to the curb. I threw it away. I moved myself into that beautiful, bright front room. I turned the extra space into my own personal reading and art sanctuary. I set up a cozy armchair right by the window where the sun hits just right. This is what I call establishing absolute thermostat sovereignty. I control the space, I control the temperature, and I control the energy in my home. My house, my rules. Even wants to come visit now, I am thrilled to see them. We will have a wonderful lunch, and then they can go check into the lovely hotel down the street. So there you have it, my darlings. The 5 heavy anchors of a fantasy life that I tossed right out the door to protect my peace, my physical space, and my brain sparkle. I want you to really hear me when I say this. You do not owe anyone a perfectly staged house. You do not owe your past a permanent monument in your living room. And you certainly do not owe society an exhausting performance. The older you get, the more you realize that a truly luxurious life isn't about how much stuff you have accumulated. It is entirely about how light you feel. It is about waking up in a home that breathes with you, a quiet sanctuary that celebrates exactly who you are today, right in this beautiful present moment. Remember my golden rule, sugar. You cannot have a happy ending to a miserable journey. So, I have a little piece of homework for you today. I want you to walk around your house, look closely at your spaces, and pick out just one thing. Just one single item that belongs to a fantasy life you don't actually want to live anymore. And I want you to give it away, throw it in the trash, or leave it right out on the curb. Just notice how much lighter you feel when it is finally gone. If you enjoyed our little chat today, darling, go ahead and click that subscribe button. We have so many more longevity secrets to share, and I would absolutely love for you to join our joyful little community. Stay light, stay happy, and I will see you next time.